My mother was my world. I remember reading books, watching documentaries, and going on road trips with her. She baked my sister and me cookies whenever we were sick. She and Dad would take us hiking every other week. I still miss her even now. When I was 11 years old, she passed away from a driving accident. It was the hardest year in my life, and it hasn't gotten easier. 2 years after she passed, my father started dating a woman named Nicole, and 4 years later, they're getting married. Nicole is younger than my father. After dating Nicole, I saw my father come back into his shell, but it turned into something else. Nicole brought adventure back into his life, but they often went on elaborate trips and frequent night outs. During all of this, I felt neglected. My father slowly stopped taking my sister and me on our weekly hikes. He started speaking less and less over calls, and he even once forgot my mother's birthday. After she came into our lives, I started losing my father. He just wasn't there anymore. One time, when my sister and I were home alone, she fell down the stairs and got a huge cut on her forehead. It was clear she needed stitches, so I called my father immediately. Nicole answered the phone, and I told her to give the phone to my father. She refused, saying he was busy, and before I could get another word in, she disconnected the call. I embarrassingly had to ask the neighbour to bring us to urgent care, where my dad later met us. This woman at one point removed my mother's picture from the fire mantle to put up a picture of her and my dad from their trip to Washington. The thing that tipped me over was when she made my father forget about my mother's birthday. Every year, my sister and I go with our father to visit my mother on her birthday. It was an annual tradition even before Nicole entered our lives. Nicole and my father went on a trip to Florida and were supposed to be back 3 days before my mother's birthday. But because this woman is motion sick, my father decided to break the drive back into small intervals to make it easier on her. Because of this, he ended up missing our annual trip. He didn't even call us. Not even a week later, my father has the nerve to tell us about an exciting surprise. Nicole is pregnant. I get angry and tell my father, "You need to knock her butt up when you can't even be here for us." I then look at Nicole and tell her she is a disgusting piece of trash and to get out of our lives. My father gets angry and yells at me to go up to my room. Later, my grandpa unexpectedly came over to pick me up. My father didn't text me anything. Even as I left, he wouldn't even look at me. It's been 2 days, and I'm still at my grandparents' home. I feel ashamed for saying what I said, yet I don't feel overwhelming regret. Am I the idiot? Edit. When I saw how deep the cut was, I immediately called my dad. He was staying over at Nicole's place at the time. When I called, Nicole picked up. She said, "Hello." I said, "Sister's name is bleeding. Can you pass the phone to Dad?" She said, "Dad's name is busy, I can't." And immediately afterwards, she disconnected the phone. I then left to go get my neighbour. Update. I've decided to contact my maternal grandfather tomorrow. I'll let you know how it goes. Update 2. I've called my maternal grandfather when everyone was still sleeping. It ended up being a 2-hour call. I basically mentioned to him everything I've said here and how I want to live with him if possible. He said that as much as he wants me to go get out from there, that he can't do much without my father's approval. I hinted at a legal approach, but he said he wouldn't be able to see us if it got that far. My grandfather also shared some new information regarding my dad. According to him, when I was 14 and my sister was 10, my dad dropped us off at my grandfather's farm since he and Nicole were flying out. A day after they returned, my grandfather dropped us back home. We were still sleeping in my grandfather's car when this ordeal happened. But when my grandfather knocked on the door, my dad answered the door drunk out of his mind. From what little he could see, my grandfather saw that the house was a mess. He told my dad that he would bring us back the following day once my dad was in his right mind. We left back to my grandfather's place. Then, my grandfather got a call from my dad the next morning, threatening him with the police if he didn't bring us back immediately. My grandfather mentioned that he would speak with my paternal grandparents to see if something can be done about our situation. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Nicole showed her colours when your sister was injured, and she wouldn't let you talk to your dad. And he has shown his colours too in many different ways. I hope your grandparents can continue to be there for you. You didn't say your age, but I hope you can be free of all this soon, i.e. be 18. You were harsh and rude, but I can't fault you given what you've shared. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Your father is human trash for basically abandoning you and your sibling when you needed a parent the most. And it's beyond vile that he thinks bringing another kid into the world with a shoot-stain woman is an exciting surprise. Absolutely awesome answer you gave those clowns. Now, for the update, things are finally starting to settle down. After the call with my grandfather, I was feeling pretty hopeless. But then something unexpected happened. My paternal grandparents came over to talk to me. They had a long conversation with my grandfather, and they decided to intervene. They sat down with my dad and Nicole and had a serious talk about everything that's been going on. My paternal grandparents told my dad that he's been neglecting his responsibilities as a parent. They reminded him of how much my mother meant to us and how her absence shouldn't mean we get less love from him. They also pointed out that Nicole's behaviour was unacceptable, especially when it came to emergencies like my sister's accident. It was a tough conversation, but it seemed like it finally got through to my dad. The next day, my dad came to my grandparents' house to talk to me. He apologised for missing my mother's birthday and for not being there when we needed him. He admitted that he got caught up in his relationship with Nicole and forgot what was truly important. He promised to make it up to us and to start being more present in our lives. It was the first time in a long time that I felt like he was actually listening to me. Nicole also came to apologise. She admitted that she had been selfish and that she didn't consider our feelings. She promised to try and be more understanding and to respect our need to remember our mother. I could tell that she was trying to make an effort, and while I'm still wary, I appreciated her apology. My sister and I had a long talk with our dad about everything. We told him how much we missed our hikes and spending time with him. He agreed to start taking us on hikes again, and we planned our first trip for next weekend. It felt like a step in the right direction. As for living with my grandfather, my dad said he would think about it. He wants us to try and work things out at home first, but he's not completely opposed to the idea. My grandfather agreed to give us some time to see if things improve at home. The biggest surprise came from my dad and Nicole's announcement. They decided to postpone their wedding. They realised that they needed to focus on our family first before making any big decisions. It was a relief to hear that they were taking our feelings into consideration. Today, my sister and I went back home. It's still a bit awkward, but there's a sense of hope that wasn't there before. My dad has been more attentive, and Nicole has been keeping her distance, giving us space. It's going to take time to adjust, but I'm cautiously optimistic. I know that things won't change overnight, but I'm glad that my grandparents stepped in and that my dad is finally starting to understand how his actions have been affecting us. It's not perfect, but it's a start. And for the first time in a long time, I feel like we might be able to heal as a family. Now for the comments. Comment 1. Oh honey, your dad's been acting like he's the lead in a bad rom-com, forgetting he's got actual kids to raise, not just a new love interest to serenade. Good on you for standing your ground. Sometimes life throws you a Nicole, and you've got to channel your inner action hero to get through it. Keep those family bonds tight and maybe toss a self-help book at your dad. He needs a plot twist in his parenting script. Comment 2. I'm really feeling for you. Losing a parent is tough, and seeing your dad check out like he's on a permanent vacation from fatherhood is rough. You did the right thing speaking up. It's not easy to be the voice of reason in a sea of adults acting like they're in a soap opera. Remember, it's okay to lean on your grandpa when times get tough. Family is about support, not just shared DNA. Keep your chin up. Now, for the next story. I have an 18-year-old son and a 16-year-old stepdaughter. They are civil with each other but have their own lives. It is just how our family is, especially since my husband and I got married when my son was 14 and his daughter was 12. I'm not too strict with my son. I don't know what he does with his friends, and I'm not too involved in his personal relationships. We are still just as close as any other mother and child. Anyways, a couple days ago, my stepdaughter sent me a series of photos of my son. I believe he may have posted them on his private social media accounts, and it was images of him at parties, smoking, drinking, and doing things with both genders. I immediately told my stepdaughter that what she did was unnecessary and inappropriate. She replied with, "Sorry, just thought you should know." I told her that unless he's in danger or hurting himself or other people, I'd rather not know what my 18-year-old son does in his free time. Now I did not want them to fight, so I didn't say anything, especially since my stepdaughter apologized once again. But yesterday I was with my husband and he was showing me a video on his phone when his daughter started sending him a bunch of messages. He opened them in front of me, and it was the same exact pictures of my son that she sent me days before. But this time she said, "So I sent these to stepmom, but she thinks this is okay behavior. Do you agree?" My husband didn't really know how to react and told her that it really wasn't any of their business what he does, and she just sent a bunch of eye-roll emojis. My son came home a while later, and I decided to tell him that his stepsister was sending us pictures of him. He seemed confused and asked to see, so I showed him the messages. He was extremely embarrassed and upset and went to his room. I then heard him on the phone yelling at someone. My stepdaughter came home an hour later and started yelling at me for snitching on her. I told her that she was invading his privacy and he has the right to know. I gave her the benefit of the doubt the first time, but then she sent the pictures to her father. She said that I just ruined half of her friendships, and my son and a lot of his friends blocked her on social media. She says that she had good intentions and wanted me to know what he was up to just in case, but I just had to assume the worst. My husband agrees that my son should know, but he thinks we could have just given him a vague idea instead of showing the pictures and actually telling him. Am I the idiot? Edit. Him posting those pictures on social media was just my assumption. Some look very clearly posted by him on his private social media accounts, but some were blurry enough for me to question it. My son is too embarrassed to even look at me right now, so I cannot confirm. I'm trying and have reassured him, but he's locked himself in his room, so I'm giving him some time before trying again. Also, I clearly state that I have no interest in his personal relationships. I know he doesn't hang out with weird or dangerous people, and that is all I need to know. I did not say that I have no interest in his life at all. That is an extremely unfair assumption. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Nope, not the idiot. Especially with how she decided to call you out on it by sending the photos to your husband after showing them to you. So I sent these to stepmom, but she thinks this is okay behavior. Do you agree? She was trying to stir up trouble. Tell her she ruined half of her friendships herself. Comment 2. Not the idiot at all, but I'm surprised you're not more invested in why she cares so much. Either she's judgmental about the behavior she saw, and it's a good opportunity to discuss why it made her uncomfortable, or she wanted him in trouble, which is also worth a family conversation. Now, for the update. Thanks for all the comments on my last post. It's been a week since the whole situation with my stepdaughter sending those pictures of my son blew up, and things have been tense to say the least. After the initial confrontation, my son stayed in his room for a couple of days. He wouldn't talk to anyone, not even me. I tried to give him space, but I also didn't want him to feel like he was alone in this. I left food outside his door and sent him texts, saying that I was here for him if he needed to talk. Eventually he came out, but things were still off. He's been quiet, and it's clear he's still embarrassed and angry about what happened. My stepdaughter, on the other hand, has been trying to act like nothing's wrong. She's been overly cheerful, and it's obvious she's overcompensating. I think she's feeling guilty but doesn't know how to fix things. My husband and I have tried to talk to her about privacy and boundaries, but she keeps insisting that she was just trying to look out for her stepbrother. The tension between my son and stepdaughter has only gotten worse. They avoid each other like the plague, and when they do have to interact, it's short and cold. I've tried to mediate a conversation between them, but neither of them is ready to talk it out. It's like they're both waiting for the other to make the first move, but I'm not sure that's going to happen anytime soon. My husband is stuck in the middle of all this. He's trying to support both his daughter and his stepson, but it's a tough balance. He's been talking to them separately, trying to help them understand each other's perspectives, but it's been a slow process. We've both agreed that family therapy might be a good idea, but we haven't brought it up to the kids yet. In the midst of all this, my son's friends have been reaching out to me. They're concerned about him because he's been skipping out on plans and isn't responding to messages. I've assured them that he's just going through a tough time and needs some space, but I'm worried about him isolating himself like this. Just when I thought things couldn't get more complicated, my stepdaughter's mother got involved. She called me, furious, saying that her daughter is being ostracized by her friends because of what happened. She's blaming me for not keeping the situation private and thinks I should have handled it differently. I tried to explain that I was just trying to be honest with my son, but she's not having any of it. Now there's this added pressure to fix things not just within our household, but with extended family too. And as if that wasn't enough, my son finally came to me last night and admitted that some of the pictures weren't from his private accounts. He said that he's been trying to figure out who took them and how they got out. He's worried about his privacy being invaded and doesn't know who he can trust anymore. I reassured him that we'd get to the bottom of it, but inside, I'm freaking out. I have no idea how to help him with this or where to even start. So here we are a week later, with my son feeling betrayed and vulnerable, my stepdaughter feeling guilty and defensive, and my husband and I trying to keep our family from falling apart. I'm at a loss for what to do next. There's no clear path forward, and every move feels like it could either help mend things or make them worse. Now, for the comments. Comment 1. Oh honey, you've got a regular teen soap opera brewing at your place. Not the idiot for wanting to keep out of the high school drama, but maybe it's time for a family powwow. Get everyone together, pop some popcorn, and have an open mic night where everyone can air their grievances. Just keep it more Oprah and less Jerry Springer. Comment 2. Been in those tricky blended family shoes. My stepson once ratted out my daughter for sneaking out. It was a mess, but we sat down and talked about trust and boundaries. It's tough, but you're not the idiot. Just got to navigate those choppy waters with a steady hand and an open heart. Good luck. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.